Okay. So here's my playground. So I used learning in a digital world, and then I paired that with creating some sort of playground or play space for a child, and I chose to do it in a Minecraft world. So to start, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the key of being successful in a digital world, and honestly, that key is balance and limiting early exposure as much as you can for children. These limits are essential because the digital world can affect language acquisition, cognitive development, and socio emotional health, all of that stuff that really the child is dependent on when developing. The digital world and technologies really do affect that. My playground, my whole goal was to allow children a safe place to talk to one another and work on building new vocabularies and just be social with one another because that is such a big part of development. So it really, my goal was to have a space where a child can learn to control their emotions and self regulate through critical thinking skills, problem solving, and share, also like learning how to share with other children. So that was the main goal of my playground. But um, to get into the details, I wanted to start off by going over here to the swings and just give you a little information about how swings can affect a child and how the digital world can affect a child in a negative way, where the swings and being outside can help them in a positive way. So, the idea is that children can immerse themselves surrounded by nature and experiencing real world situations in my playground. And one of the main reasons that the digital world is viewed in such a negative light is because it really affects social relations and parental relations or caregiving relations as well. So, a child depends so much on being able to read your facial expressions, and that helps them learn how to regulate their emotions or help them understand why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And when a parent is sitting behind a screen, their face becomes still, and it's just this muted sort of look, and a child's unable to um learn to regulate their emotions through watching another regulate their own emotions. So my goal was to get the parents as well off their screens just as much as a child, because it's equally as important. And the swings, I know, as like growing up, I would always have my dad or my mom push me on the swings. So this gets the parent up out of the phone and helping their child with something and teaching them something, and that creates a bond, which creates attachment, which we also know from class is extremely, extremely important. Moving on, I wanted to add a garden of some sort. I think it would be very beneficial to have multiple, maybe one flowers, one vegetables, fruits, anything like that. And this would be a great way to use technology positively. Having a science app or a book, something like that, that highlights the importance of gardens or of the planting system and all of that would really enrich a child's experience and enhance the learning experience as well. Um, it the garden would also allow them tinkering skills, and it would help them learn that I can grow something, and like it would help with their cognitive development, understanding why it is that the garden grows and the vegetables grow. It would help socially, just working with other students or other children to grow these beautiful plants, whatever they choose to be grown. Yeah. And moving on to my actual playground, I don't want to say that I kept it bland, but I wanted to keep it as bland as possible so that the child was the one creating experiences, being the dragon or being the prince slaying the dragon. I wanted it to be their own minds, and that like I wanted them to be creating the narratives, not so much handing it to them, which is what we see in technology so often. Children are just given storylines and given all of the details, and they're not able to create them in their own minds because the game or whatever video they're watching just gives it to them straight away. Um, My play space would allow children to have one-to-one social interactions and allow children to learn off of one another too, which is beneficial because last project I learned about social emotional learning and how um, being around other children is really beneficial to children's social and emotional learning. So my play space would also allow children to be together and everybody from different areas and different backgrounds learning how to support each other and talk to each other. So that was another reason I wanted to build my playgrounds. I think that is so important with child development as well. And then I added a sandbox just because I know growing up in like every playground I was in, there was a sandbox. So I just added that. I was thinking hands, busy mind, a child feeling and touching and learning. It would all help cognitively and physically because they could be digging, figuring out those fine motor skills is super important. So overall, I just thought that would be a good way for a child to develop, even if it's not really directly related to anything digitally. But yes, and then moving on, in class a couple days ago, we talked about the importance of a trike section. So that's when I got the idea to create a trike section. So there's a lot of concerns around the digital world affecting the amount of time children spend outside. And obviously my playground is outside, so I thought that just allowing children to be immersed in nature would allow them to have real life experiences and yeah, that helps them both in all areas of development. So, with higher amounts of screen time being used, children lose a lot of physical activity. They lose a lot of time spent outside, running, swinging, jumping, anything, and that limits their fine motor skills because they're not being out and touching things, picking things up, learning that if I move this, this happens. And trikes can help with fine motor skills because they're learning how to steer, and I made sure that all of the tracks were curvy and swervy so that a child really has to focus and think about moving their body makes the bike move, or moving my legs makes the bike move, and making sure they turn at the right amount of time to stay on the track. So I just wanted to make sure that not only is my playground helping them cognitively and socially, but definitely physically. And I think that really is an area of a lot of concern for many people when it comes to the digital world because children aren't getting up and moving and exploring. And I really wanted to harness the importance of that when I created my playground. So yes, all in all, that is my playground. I want to thank you again for letting me do this project. It was really fun being able to put two of my passions together, as silly as that sounds. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, so thank you again.